All right, welcome back, everybody. Well, let's tackle Light My Fire by the Doors. This is a great piece of music written by Robbie Krieger on guitar and the Doors, and put out on their first album, right, in '67, I think. And it's got wonderful, as you know, and interesting sort of different, non-usual chord sequences. So we'll go through that. And then it's got this great, but 2-minute plus long guitar solo throughout that. But we'll break that down into parts, into the component parts. And I'll show you sort of by hand position where he's playing these things and sort of make sense of it by section as we go through that. So we'll learn all the rhythm guitar and all the lead guitar too. So if this is the kind of thing that you like and you haven't done so already, I invite you to jump down right now and click subscribe and ring the bell. The bell will let you know when I drop new content, which I do every single week. All my videos have chapters in them, so you can jump right to the part of the lesson that you want to see and bypass what you don't. And if you're looking for other ways to support the channel, I appreciate that. There's thanks, which is like throwing a tip in the tip jar. Or you can join my Patreon page where I've got chord charts and tabs for all the lessons that I do on YouTube, just like this one. And all the links are in the description below. Check it out. All right, so Light My Fire. This is a super fun song on guitar, even though it's sort of, you know, launches off with the great keyboards and all that kind of stuff. But it's a great guitar song too. It's super fun. So let's go through it. So word about gear real quick. I have a 68 Gibson SG Special. So when you have that in your hand, you have to play Pete Townsend The Who and you have to play Robbie Krieger Doors. You have to. So we're going to do Doors today. And anyway, not a requirement, but I'm just telling you I've got it. And of course I'm going to play it for this lesson. So I'm on my neck pickup. Everything's up at 10 here. Robbie supposedly used a twin reverb that was cranked around 7-ish for his tone. And he had a 64, I think, SG Special that he plugged into that for the recording. So I don't have anything else going on, just other than that. My amp, I'm going to be running into my Fender Bassman here, which is the closest thing I think I've got to a twin reverb with the two 12s. And so yeah. Anyway, the song is in standard tuning, but you'll notice that when you're playing along, you notice that it's sort of not in standard tuning. Like they recorded it and played it in standard tuning, and they slowed the tape down just a hair. So it's not quite E-flat tuning either. You know, it's not quite a half step down. It's somewhere right in between. I'm going to keep it in standard tuning here just to be easy for what we're going to do. So yeah, let's go. Let's learn about the rhythm guitar. So now on rhythm, I'm going to go through the chords. And I'm also going to call out the actual hand positions that I've seen him use it when I go back and look at the old 67, 68 footage. A great video that catches a lot of, there's a couple of them, but the Ed Sullivan appearance, I'll link it right here. The Ed Sullivan appearance where they play this song, you can see Robbie playing where his hand positions are for these different chords. And anyway, so let's get to it. So the very intro, right, is the great famous keyboard line, but the chords behind that are G, and it's played as a bar chord G. So he plays his bar chord G, cowboy D, bar chord F, a bar chord B flat, a bar chord all the way up on 11 on an E flat, bar chord A flat, resolving on an A. Right? Okay. So we'll come back to that in just a sec. You'll notice I'm playing with fingers. Robbie played this with fingers. He didn't use a pick. He has had in interviews, he talked about sort of the chords that he chose for this, and because they're kind of all over the place, right? They're nowhere near your normal sort of root, fourth, fifth kind of thing. he talked a little bit about he wanted to actually throw in chords that weren't getting much love, like weren't showing up in songs. And so the way he did it, the first chord is a G, next chord is a D. Now that's very common. D is the fifth of your G. Now we're going to jump down to F, which is a little, less common move. From here, we're just going to do fourths. We're just going to do, all the next chords for a while are just fourths from each other. So wherever you land, you're going to go to the fourth of that chord. Well, the fourth of an F is a B flat. 1, 2, 3, 4. B flat, right? He happens to play the big bar chord, right? Well, what's the fourth from the B flat? Well, it's an E flat. 2, 3, 4. But again, he plays the big bar chord, right? So once you get to the F, fourth from that, fourth from that. So if you think of that, there you go. Fourth from your E flat is your A flat, and then you land on A. Right. So again, F, fourth, 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 back to your A. Okay, so that's how that makes sense in his mind anyway. Now the chords during the verses are going to be an A minor 7 to an F sharp minor 7. And there's a couple different voices that seem to happen when you watch him on video in those early days. What he plays for the first one, because he's ending here, he either plays one of these or he plays this one. And then he goes to a F sharp minor 7. That's the chord he's using there. Right, so. And then from that, after that first one, he uses this A minor 7. And he's picking the strings as he's going along. So very cool, right? But those different voicings of the A minor 7 show up throughout the song. We'll come back to it a little bit later too. But so that's the first one, or that's the first one. Like I've seen him do that one too, which is just an open A string and you're just barring. It all gets you the same A minor 7 notes in your F sharp minor 7. First position. And that's what he does. He just bounces back and forth from those two positions from that point on during the verses. Right? So he goes around on that, and then you come to your chorus. And your chorus is just G, A, back to your regular cowboy D. Right? So you do that twice. Come on, baby, my fire. Going to slide up to a B major. You hear him do that. G, D, E7. And I don't know exactly which E7. It's a first position, but it's either the one with this or you're picking up your ring finger. Right? So that chorus again. There you go. Then you're back. you go. So that's the whole verse structure and the chorus. In terms of rhythm guitar, that's the most of the meat and potatoes of the song. The next part that's going to come up is a big, long, 2-minute long or whatever keyboard solo. There's a slightly different chord sequence there. It's basically an A minor 7 to a B minor 7. And he uses these voicings. A minor 7 to B minor 7. And they go back and forth. And all he does, based on the energy of what's going on the keyboard part, at that part of the keyboard solo, he's just varying what he's doing with the strumming on his right hand. But those are the chords. That's really it. You know, when the energy changes, he'll do... So just do every sort of variation that you can think of, but those are the chord voicings he's using. Beautiful, right? So just do that for 2 minutes while the keyboard plays, and then it's up for your guitar solo part. And before I go to that, let me cover actually on the sticking with the rhythm guitar, what happens during the outro, because that's the only part that's different in terms of chords that happen. So after the guitar solo, you know, there's another sort of verse and chorus section, and he's back to his he runs through that, and then maybe another chorus, but there's one more verse where he changes the energy up, and he just does this same voicing that we did for the during the keyboard solo. And instead of going up here to B, we're going to do that same shape down to your F sharp, your 2nd fret, because that's also an F sharp minor 7, right? Right. So this is when Jim's really singing. You know, I'm gonna be a true. You know, when he's just more energized about it during that last verse. Now we don't go to the B here, right? This is on the outro, right? So we're going to stick to that D for one more beat longer, and then we're going to shift to F, C, D. Right? So your chorus. Try to set the night on fire, right? Whoops. Fire. And then you're back. And your big ending. So that's all the rhythm guitar parts, but beautiful. He makes use of other chords that you're sort of non-standard hearing during your standard pop tunes, and but that's how he did it. So let's talk about the guitar solo now. Okay, on the guitar solo, this is beautiful. So he sort of picks up, it's jazzy sounding, you know, what's happening underneath there. It's the same thing that was sort of happening with the keyboard solo. But the keyboard's playing the sort of rhythm, and there's great interplay that happens between the guitar and Rain Manzarek on keyboards. but they sort of play around each other. You know, Robbie sort of echoes a little bit of what Ray was playing on the keyboards, and vice versa. But let's talk about the hand position. So there's basically 4 hand positions that he uses during this solo. One is right here, loosely around sort of an A minor shape. And by the way, this is not pentatonic, like, at all. I don't know what it is in terms of a scale, but I can make sense of it for you when I describe it here. But this is going to be one position. You're going to have a position that's open down here. You're going to have a hand position that's same thing, an octave up here on the 12th fret. And then you're going to have a position that's an octave from your 5th fret up here. But that's sort of the 4 places where he's going to live. So let's talk about the first one here. So Robbie plays with his fingers. And in this position here, everything is pretty much happening between 8, 7, and 5 on those first 2 strings, and 7 and 5 on the G string. That's pretty much everything. Maybe there's an E note there on 4th at some point. But if you think about it, you think about the rhythm chords that were being played. It's sort of straight across on the 5th fret and straight across on the 7th fret. So what does that mean? That means all these notes on the 5th and 7th fret are in play, and he relies on those like very heavily during all this. Sometimes it sounds childish to me, but that's why it all works there, right? But let's come in here. So he's going to start on 8 on the B string. Now I'm going to play through these. All the tabs are available for my Patreon members. I've got it all mapped out. I may not go through every single note for note throughout this entire solo. I may not. But it is 100% mapped out on tabs for you. If I don't have anything that I cover on here, just go look at it right there. But I'll show you where he's playing everything, right? So he's here on the 8th fret on the B string. There's a little bit of a hammer-on pull-off, right? And I'm pretty much popping these pretty strong with my right hand. So he's just taking one little phrase and he's repeating it on the next string. Same thing, right? And that's going to be a theme. He's going to repeat things like that throughout this whole solo. It goes up again. There he goes. So you just repeated that whole thing on string 1, 2, and 3. All right, so that was beautiful. Now this little speed run that he does, watched him play this live a couple times back in the old days on film, and he tends to bar his index finger over here at the 5th fret, and he does the climb with his free fingers here, and all that's happening is a chromatic run on the G string, the B string, and the E string on the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. All you're doing is doing hammer on from 5, 6, 7. And then you're ending on that note there. That's all that's happening. Right? So he bars his finger over when he does it. Hard, but however you want to do it. I just learned that, so I don't have that down, but normally, there you go. But that's how that part goes. And then one more. little bend there. So that little, he does that little run up on the third string, and then he just finishes. All right, so let's do those runs one more time. Right? So that's how he closes it out. But see what I mean? That's just, he's just picking notes on the 5th and 7th fret, and he's just alternating on those strings. They're all in play with those two chords. Right? Now we're going to do this great little double stop things. I'm going to pop the E and B string really hard on the 8th fret to 5th fret. And you're going to just pull that up, stop wherever you want. And then down and back from 5th and 3rd fret. All right, so that whole thing happens in this position. So now we're going to jump down to an open position. The next part of the lick is using open string, open E. So we're going to do this. Right? Nice. And then close that off. We're going to do another pull off now on your 3rd string, 4, 2, open, and then land on 2 on the 4th string. Right? For that first one. So you're just popping that 4th fret on 3rd string and pulling off. And then the next 2 or 3. All right, it's almost the same. You're just starting on that 2nd fret. So let's do this whole position again. Right, that's it. So that all happens down here in this position. Now we're going to come back to our original position. Did that a little bit wrong, but now we're gonna travel from this position up to this top one. But again, sort of childish sounding, but it all works because you're between these two chords. And now we're up here on this position. So now we're going to play similar kinds of things that we did down here on open, up on 12. Right, so the notes we're using or the frets we're using here are 15, 13, 12 on both those strings, ending on our A note on 14 on the 3rd string. Right? Whoops. All right, so let me talk about that little part. This is now going to take us up to this octave A position up here. So that's a slide from 12, and he sort of stops right here at 14, and then punches that A note up there on, sorry, that's stops on 16, and he pops it on 17. And then you're going to slide up, take it from, I usually start from the A down here. Again, stop right there, and then pop it on 17 there. Now we're going to do this little flurry up here on this position here, and I'm convinced he does the same thing where he's barring his index finger. You know, when he was barring his index finger down here and doing the run, right? right? Up here, he's not doing a chromatic run, but he's just playing with the notes on the, what is that fret? 15, 16, 17, between 17 and 19. That's all he's doing on these. Right, but it becomes easy if you just bar your index finger over here on 17 and you just sort of play around at your pleasure. You're just picking notes on 19. And he sort of hits a mistake note, one might think. He goes up there to 21 just for a second and it stops. And after that little accident note, he hits this note here on the B string. And then comes back to that too, and then he slides down. So and then we're back to our 5th fret. So he hits that double stop, double stop, little quarter bend. Right, then he's gonna riff around here again where we started. And I'm sort of losing track a little bit, but he's going around there again. My tabs have it all mapped out. Where he starts to play with this a little bit differently now is he sort of is pulling the phrase, he's sort of going in a downward direction. Right? Everything before was sort of is more going upward. This is now sort of same notes, just sort of arranging them, moving downward. Then he changes the rhythm a little bit with his picking to this. Might have had a note wrong there, but he lands on that 7th fret there. But, you know, the picking rhythm is changing. Even though everything's still moving in the sort of 4/4, he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's what's happening on there. And just a great little piece. And then then the drummer picks up on it and he does the bend. Right? So we sort of know that. The big bend on the 3rd string and 5th. The 3 time. Now we're going to go up to our B string and bend up to our A note. Twice. Back to our 3rd. So now we're almost done. We're sort of going to climb out of this now at that sort of 6-note rhythm after that last bend. Something like that. I might have one note messed up in there, but again, all right in that space. Right, all in between those 2 frets and very much popping the note. And we're back to our chorus. And we're into our last verses. Well, my friends, that is Light My Fire by The Doors and the great guitar work by Robbie Krieger. I hope you learned something new today. If you like what you saw and you haven't done so already, please click subscribe and ring the bell. The bell lets you know when I drop new content, which I do every week. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this, and if there's another lesson you want me to take on, let me know what that is too. But until next week, take care, everybody.